That was footage from the Raiders, the start of the Raiders practice today, Wednesday, here at the Raiders practice facility in Henderson. Jackson Powers Johnson in the red jersey, coming off the concussion, so he's still in protocol. When you get to that point, you're near the finish line.
Yeah.
Still have to go through some other tests prior to getting fully cleared, but a step in the right direction for Jackson Powers Johnson. We'll get to all of that. I want to welcome everybody to Vegas Nation First and 10, your Raiders go-to for news and analysis. We are brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vegas Nation, and also Station Casinos, STN Sports, and we appreciate them for all of their support. All right, so I'm Vinny here, by the way, cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. Adam Hill, my colleague and good friend, also covers the Raiders and everything else for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. So we saw Jackson Powers Johnson out there. We talked to Pete Carroll earlier in the day. They were literally giving him the latest test as we were talking to Pete Carroll. So he got through that part of the protocol, and now he's practicing today, obviously on a limited basis. But it seems to be pointing in the right direction. He's got some more things that he's got to take care of before you get clear, but it seems to be moving in the right direction for Jackson Powers Johnson to be back on the field on Sunday against the Commanders.
Yeah, trending positively, I think you can say. And again, there's a step-by-step protocol that goes on, and the fact that he is on the practice field, even though he's in a red jersey, no contact, it's just the next step, and it's one step closer to potentially playing, which could be good news for the Raiders, who need all the help they can get on the offensive line.
Yeah, they do, and we'll stick right there because, look, I know fans complain and there's anxiety over that and concern and bench this guy, move this guy, bring in that guy, and that's why I asked Pete Carroll that question yesterday when we spoke to him on Tuesday. From his experience, and pretty much every coach that's ever coached in the NFL will tell you that's your offensive line is not something that you want to keep making a bunch of changes with.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes and it might be frustrating, and I'm sure they're frustrated as well. But the best thing that they could do right now is just invest in this group, in the group that they've settled in as the top five, and let them work it out over the next month. If you're having the same conversations in a month, that's the time that maybe you start thinking about making some changes. But I think you have to allow it to grow and develop and get the cohesion that's obviously missing right now that they're going to need in the chemistry. And really, Adam, the only way you get there, or to figure out, basically, if you can even get there, is time on task.
Yeah, I think it's, the way you look at it is if you have to play a game on Sunday, I'd rather have 5, say, average players who've played together for a year than 5 All-Stars who've never played together before. Right. And not that the Raiders are bringing in an All-Star off the bench. No. I'm not making that claim.
Or it's the other way, yeah.
But I just feel like you'd rather just have that group of individuals who've worked together is better than the maybe superstar individuals kind of plugging them into a spot. So they need to play together. They need to work together. And look, there's no guarantee that it's going to get to the point that you want, and you might have to address that in the offseason, as we kind of talked about last year, that they should probably address it in this offseason. But they did. They drafted some younger players that aren't quite ready yet. So we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I mean, their best hope right now. Like, they're not bringing in 5 new guys. They're not going to go find
Jonathan Ogden's not walking in the door.
Not finding 5 guys on the street to plug in there. Like, they've got to figure it out. And they've got a good start. I mean, look, Colton Miller played really well on Monday, even though the rest of the line wasn't very good. Like, he played well. We know what he can do.
TJ Glaze actually played a pretty decent game.
He was okay. He was all right. So I think I thought it was better live than it was on film. He was okay.
I thought his run blocking was pretty good. He's still.
Yeah, pass blocking is more of an issue. So, I feel like they this is what they've got. I mean, I think everybody would like to say that they should have addressed it. They should have got better. They should have invested a little bit more heavily this offseason. But this is what they have. So their best hope is to get this group of guys and work them together, and maybe that cohesion will help them improve as a group rather than trying to find individuals who will be better.
Yeah, and look, every team is on a little bit of a different journey, on a little bit different timeline, and this is the Raiders' journey, and you can't. It's just impossible to check off every single box, every single offseason. It's just the way it is in any sport, and if major changes are going to be needed or subtle changes, or they're going to need to invest higher in the draft or higher in free agency next offseason, maybe they're a little bit more comfortable doing that because they've got other bases covered that they covered this year, and it's just kind of an ongoing process. So But I do believe, and I think Pete Carroll and the coaching staff shares this sentiment. For this line to get better, the best way to do that is for them to play together and get some more time on task, and that's just a process. So, as I said, if we're having some of these similar conversations 4 weeks from now, then that might be the time where, hey, is Charles Rogers ready, or is Caleb Rogers ready? Is Charles Grant ready? Are there some changes that need to be made? But I don't think the Raiders are quite there yet. But I do want to talk about.
Well, hold on. While we're speaking about the offensive line, I understand Armand Membu might be the best offensive tackle in the league right now. Already 2 games into his career, it's very early. Like, it is very early. So if you are saying that, because I've seen a lot of people pointing that out, yes, he has been incredible. It's only 2 games. Yeah. So slow down a little. Like, I know how good he is, and I've seen it. I've been watching. Slow down a little bit on that.
Yeah, Will Campbell's pretty good too, but the Raiders didn't have access to him. But I do want to talk about one player in particular on the offensive line, and he's quite honestly been struggling. I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you that, is Dylan Parham. And when you think about Dylan Parham, say what you want, but he had a good solid season last year by all the various metrics. He was among the highest rated Raiders offensive line. Could have been the first, but was up there. Yeah. But here's the thing: he was a right guard last year. Yeah. He moved to left guard this year. That's another player who I'll be curious to see what it looks like, in a month or so. Rather than just being in a rush to get to move on from him and bring somebody else in at this stage. And I'll ask you, what do you think the major issue has been? With Dylan, do you think it has anything to do with switching positions?
It might. I feel like it might be part of. One of the things we talked about in the offseason was that Chip Kelly's system might fit this offensive line better. The individual pieces that this line has,
and maybe it eventually will.
I feel like we talked about that a lot. Of, hey, these guys might thrive under this, even though it's the same guys for the most part. The system might fit them better. But I think we're talking about kind of center to right tackle there. Mm-hmm. Colton Miller kind of fits any system probably, but I thought Parham was one guy maybe you thought he might have been better off in the old system. Yeah. It might just be slow. But it's adjusting to the other side and switching systems at the same time. All those things are adjustments. So it's going to take time. It's a process.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and that kind of ducktails into the other, I guess, issue, concern, for the Raiders right now. It is just 2 games, so keeping that in mind. But it's kind of the stagnant start to the run game, which I think goes hand in hand also with the offensive line. And I'm writing, and you'll be able to read this later today and tomorrow over at Vegas Nation. I'm writing about Ashton Jeanty and the way he's been used so far. And I look back at the play sheet from Monday night, and there was only one occasion, despite the fact that there were some positive runs, a few of them actually, but there was only one time throughout that game where Ashton Jeanty got the ball on successive runs, where 5-yard gain, hey, go give it back to Ashton Jeanty. It was only one time that happened, and there were plenty of opportunities for them to do that. They didn't do that. The game before that, it had really only been one up until the fourth quarter, where then they were just running clock. And if you go back and look at the play sheet of the game against the Patriots, once they got the 10-point lead, got the ball, toward the tail end of the fourth quarter, they just kept feeding him, and he got knocked back for a loss, like 3 or 4 straight plays. It affected the yard total, obviously. But at that point, they were just trying to run the clock, and it wasn't really conducive to really generating anything. You would love to see him get a bunch of positive yards and just keep running the clock, but that didn't happen. But I find it kind of conspicuous, and I think this is something that if I'm Pete Carroll, maybe I'm pulling Chip Kelly aside a little bit and saying, hey, need to be a little bit more cognizant of that. And I say that because I think just like any other running back, Ashton Jeanty is a guy that you got to get him lathered up. You got to get him into a rhythm, and you have to me, give the ball to him. Give yourself a chance to give the ball to him on successive downs, maybe even 3 straight runs, and get the defense back on the heels. If you want an offensive line to be the aggressive attack style offensive line that you want this to be, and this offense to be the type of offense that you want it to be, I think it's worth investing in some sequencing where he gets the ball, especially after a positive gain, to just give him the ball a couple times in a row to kind of try to establish that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would help. He played not much more than 50% of the snaps, I think, in this game. So he wasn't even on the field that many times necessarily back-to-back plays to be able to get that. And that'll come. Like, Pete Carroll talked about it. It's a process. He's still young, still learning all those things. And I understand all that for sure. But like we talked about a lot all off season, you invest what you did in him. Like you've got to use him. Like you got to take advantage of him. And if he's not quite getting it done, like just keep going to it because it should get done eventually.
The thing is, he was getting it done in the run game. He was running the ball successfully, and I understand the accountability factor. It was the second drive of the game. Really, it was the first Raiders drive because the first technically drive ended with an interception on the first play. So you throw that out there. At the next drive, he gets a 10-yard gain or 13-yard gain. I think his first carry, and then they go away from him on the next play, and somewhere right after that, or soon after that, is when he went the wrong way, and Geno Smith kind of had to salvage it. Gets to the line of scrimmage, they immediately take him off the field, and he's off the field for I think it might have been 6 plays. Yeah. That drive ended with a field goal, but when the Raiders got into, it wasn't technically the red zone. They were approaching the red zone. They were deep in Chargers territory. He doesn't touch the ball one time, and I get it with the accountability, but to me, I'm not so sure that the penalty fit the crime in that sequence, and I think it hurt the team by not having Ashton Genty out there because you needed a touchdown. The Raiders did not score a touchdown. They were 0 for 3 in the red zone. I'm a believer that you got to get your best players out there. The message was sent. He had sat a couple of plays. Get him back out there. But they chose not to, and like I said, I kind of understand the accountability, but when it's kind of being a detriment to your team, I disagree with that.
Yeah, I understand. Like that's coaches. The coaches just are coaches. They're always going to be coaches. A fumble is going to get you sat on the bench for a long time, and they really don't like when you ruin a play by going the wrong way and not understanding. And we also don't know what went into it. It might have been something that has been a recurring thing at practice, and
give you space for that. Yes,
that's potentially that's possible too. That was part of it. Again, we don't know that. We're not at practice right now. We get to watch the stretching and
there's also a classroom part of it.
Sure, and if he's not getting it right in the classroom, and then all of a sudden he messes it up in the game, like hey, you're going to sit for a while. You're going to learn this.
We talked about this,
and I have a feeling that Ashton Genty absolutely learned from coming out of the game for an extended period after making that mistake. So I think we'll watch how he responds to this, how he gets better from it, and I'm sure he will. It's a tough decision that coaches have to make sometimes.
Yeah.
Do we want to keep him on? Hey, it's fine. It's him. It's a clip going around it's Robert Porcher, I believe, from the Lions. I don't know if you saw this. It's going around social media right now, and they're doing like I'm not sure if it's a roast of Wayne Fontes, the former Lions coach, and Barry Sanders is there, and Herman Moore is there. All these former Lions, and Robert Porcher is telling the story, and he said that. Wayne Fontes would be in your face every single day about being on time. That was his biggest thing, being on time. And, everybody's freaking out about it. Everybody panicked about it. Everybody was there all on time every single time. And then one day, Barry Sanders was late. And Wayne Fontes looks at his watch and he waits, and Barry Sanders comes in about 3 minutes late. And he goes, I think our clocks are fast. We're on time. Right? So it's different levels for different people. But as a rookie, like you're going to be held accountable, and they're going to make sure that happens. And sometimes there's different rules for different guys. But I think in this case, it's like, hey, you have to do the right things. You have to prepare right and be ready and not make those mistakes in games. And I'm sure it's a message to him that's what they expect going forward. And I think bigger than that to me was the concern about third downs. Like he just wasn't really on the field very often on third downs. And it wasn't just that Zamir White is their third down guy. Like the plan all week, according to some players I talked to, was Dylan Labby was going to be the 2-minute offense guy.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, that is where he would be best suited as a running back. And he made, a couple of catches in the game for sure. He'd give him open space, and he understands the passing game and that sort of thing. So that's all well and good. You draft a running back where you drafted him, like you don't want other guys taking over situations. Like, again, 2-minute offense often is going to be the most important drives of the game. Mm-hmm. And if you don't trust him to be out there on third downs –
But
That's an issue right now.
It is right. I think the key is right now.
Yeah.
And it's an evolving situation. And I think Pete Carroll, he basically has alluded to it. You're working toward that. So again, if this is the case, unless Dylan just runs with that job and is dominating in that phase, I would if we're having
that
if he's done
also be a bad sign.
Why?
If Dylan Labby is dominating Ashton Genty in any phase of playing running back.
Dominating his role that they're
right.
affording him. I mean, that's good for the team actually. So I get it. He was drafted 6th overall, but you're also trying to win games right now. And if Dylan Labby goes off in that role, then I mean, go but look at Adrian Peterson. He was rarely on the field on third downs with the Vikings. Still did major damage, and the Vikings won a lot of games. But if Dylan is on the field in those situations later on the field and not doing well, then that's a whole other issue. By the way, back in the day, I worked for a major indoor soccer league team. Remember that league?
Sure.
All right, and the coach, who was from England, was a stickler for time, being on time, fine guys, all of that. We show up to the airport. It's the night after a game, but it was one of those road trips where, headed to Dallas, the 6 o'clock flight the next morning. Who's not on the flight? The coach. He didn't make the airport. And the last time I had seen him was at the Forum Club, by the way, drinking with the owner, Jerry Buss's son. They were at the Forum Club. It was just them and the bartender. And so I knew exactly what probably happened. Anyway, the players were having the time of their lives.
Oh, of course.
Because he was a guy that wasn't necessarily well liked.
Yeah.
And I probably heard him cussed out laughingly in about 6 different languages. It was a soccer team. It was the funniest thing ever. His seat on the plane was empty. He showed up, by the way. Somehow he got to Dallas later on to the arena in time for the game. But that was one of these coaches that are sticklers.
Yeah.
Don't make the flight. Yeah, that was a pretty fun memory. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break. By the way, before we do, I just want to tell everybody you guys asked and spoke up, and we heard you loud and clear. We at Vegas Nation are giving a digital subscription for Vegas Nation for the next 3 months for 25 cents. That's a quarter. That's it, total. 25 cents for the next 3 months of a digital subscription for Vegas Nation. Just go to mylvrj.com/nation, mylvrj.com/nation, and get signed up for the next 3 months of Vegas Nation digital subscription. If you've already done it, tell all your friends, tell all your Raider people at work, whatever, family members, that offer is still going, 25 cents for the next 3 months of Vegas Nation digital subscription. When we get back, we'll talk about Geno Smith and the process that he goes through to kind of bounce back from a bad game, which I think we can all agree, and Geno will agree, he had a bad game on Monday night against the Chargers.
The shorter week actually helps you. The faster we can get to the game, the faster we get that bad taste out of our mouth. So, having a short week, we know there's a quick turnaround. The emphasis is on getting your body right and preparing, learning the new opponent, getting yourself together and getting ready to go out there to the East Coast and get it done.
Just heard there from Geno Smith. I looked back at Geno Smith's starting career with Seattle. I kind of just stuck with there because,
Sure.
Don't want to go too far back. I think I counted one time where he had 3 interceptions in a game in his 3 years as a starter. He's had bad games, but he hasn't had those types of bad games. That was pretty excessive for him. And he immediately had a good game the following game. He usually follows up a bad game with a good game. We'll see if that trend continues. But, at least just in talking to him, we'll see what we're going to see on Sunday. What have your impressions been about his own accountability and his own acknowledgement that he didn't play good and he's going to learn from it?
Yeah, I mean, he understands it. I mean, it'd be hard not to if he came back and was like, I don't think I played that bad.
Right.
Like, that would be probably a concern. But yeah, he understands, and he's a veteran, right? I mean, we just talked about, rookies learning these kind of lessons. Like, he's been through it all. He's seen, great games and good games after great games and bad games after good games and good games after bad. Like, all the different scenarios he's seen, he understands. And so he knows what he has to do moving forward. And it wasn't just the 3 interceptions. I mean, obviously, that comes from forcing the ball downfield, which is what he was doing. There's no question. But it wasn't like they were completing passes to go along with it. It was 0 for 12 and anything over 10 yards.
It was a bad game.
It was bad. And there was, even like late in the game, just before the 3rd interception, this is a wide open Brock Bowers just threw it way over his head.
Yeah.
Like he was just missing throws badly, even when they weren't intercepted. So it's you have to learn from it.
Day to have
I think look, he had he played a very, very good game week one and a very, very bad game week two. I don't think he's probably as good as he was in week one. I know he's not as bad as he was in week two.
Yeah.
So it's about finding that consistent level and just playing to that all year long and not having these wild swings. And I'm sure they'll figure it out. Again, new system, new team, new organization, all those things. So it was a little bit of a roller coaster for 2 weeks, but I think he'll find his level.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for him, for the Raiders, to bounce back. And we don't know yet what the status is of Jaden Daniels, the Commanders' outstanding young quarterback. But if he can't go, a familiar face is over there in Washington. Not just a familiar face to the Raiders, a familiar face to Las Vegas fans who remember Marcus Mariota playing here, with the Raiders. The Raiders kind of, and I think Marcus will attest to this. The Raiders kind of, they didn't salvage him, but he was a broken dude when he got to the Raiders, mentally and physically. And the Raiders signed him to a pretty nice contract, for a backup. He's going to be Derek Carr's backup, but really for a year, basically, just not an entire year, but for about a year, he was able to just rest the body, get the body right, and get in what was, for him, a positive environment. So I'm sure there's a lot of fondness from Marcus's standpoint to the Raider organization for kind of getting him back on track. But then the other part of it is his former coach, Chip Kelly, is here with the Raiders. So I have a feeling we may see Marcus Mariota. What do you think?
Yeah, it's going that way. I mean, I think some of the things that they've said, Dan Quinn said today, we understand the importance of Jaden Daniels to this organization and its future. Mm-hmm. Those sorts of comments would lead me to believe, they understand it's not about one game.
Let me ask you this, because I've been thinking about this. I can't get Robert Griffin Jr. out of my head right now, because not to say that they're the same quarterback, but there's some similarities there. And if we remember, RJ3 suffered a knee injury, and then remember they brought him back, and he was just never the same player.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Dan Quinn was there; he wasn't, but he knows the history. This is probably a time to be extra careful with your franchise quarterback because of what happened, with RG3.
Yeah, I would think, and obviously RG.
What do you think would have happened with that?
Robert Griffin's injury was very, very devastating for sure. So I mean, it was a little different.
He wasn't bad.
No,
people forget that he was actually pretty good up until that.
Yeah, he wasn't. Jaden Daniels might have had the best rookie season we've ever seen.
A little different. The sport, believe it or not, has changed a little bit since
for
then.
sure.
But so it's a little bit more conducive to what he does. But
I think they're going to be very careful. Just like but last week we thought the Raiders were going to be very careful of Brock Bowers, and they put him out there for the first half. He was kind of sparingly used, and then second half, like, got to try to rally here.
Yeah,
stick him out there. So, look, if he's healthy, he's going to play. I think that's pretty clear. The question is, will he be? He will not practice today, or he did not practice today on Wednesday. He will not practice tomorrow on Thursday. They're going to try to get him on the field Friday and just see how he is. And that'll determine a lot toward whether he plays or not, but it does give the Raiders a lot more to think about as they prepare defensively.
Yeah, and as Adam asked Pete Carroll, are you even preparing for the third quarterback? Didn't sound like Pete even knew who the third quarterback was.
Yes. He said, no, we will not be doing that, which is interesting because obviously if...
Who is it?
I think it's Josh Johnson. So if
That's right.
Jaden Daniels is out, which we don't know if he will be, but if he's out and Marcus Mariota plays... I'll say, first of all, it sounds like Pete Carroll believes Jaden Daniels is playing. That's what it sounded like to me.
He's preparing for that.
But if it is Mariota and he gets hurt and Josh Johnson comes in, I would say Pete Carroll certainly needs to hope that Josh Johnson doesn't light them up after saying he's not preparing for him. That wouldn't be a good look.
Yeah, it wouldn't, but...
I don't think that Josh Johnson would light them up. I also don't think Josh Johnson's going to play.
But talk about covering every...
It wouldn't be great.
Yeah, I would imagine maybe after you brought it up, maybe he's like, maybe we got to look at Josh Johnson a little bit.
Or maybe they were already looking at him and they just said they weren't. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Knows? Pete always has that mischievous, look about
it. And I'll just, for context, the question, if you're like, why would they look at the third? When you're preparing for a team, you always study the backup quarterback.
You have to. Yeah.
You have to, just in case, like, hey, what's going to go on if the starter's out? How do we prepare for the backup? He said they're not preparing for the third string, which leads me to believe they think Jaden Daniels is playing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I would imagine that if he's able to, he's going to make a fight, to be out there. It's kind of a big game for the Commanders as well. So All right, so it's Wednesday. We will not be with you guys on Thursday. We're going to wrap up Commanders Week on Friday before heading out to Washington or Landover, Maryland.
Sure.
To cover that game, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into the Commanders, and I think we'll have a better idea maybe about Jaden Daniels, at least whether he'll practice tomorrow or not. We'll get that checked out. Any last thoughts before bidding adieu?
Should we do a deep dive into Washington D.C. area? My old stomping grounds, one of many places I've lived, but I was there kindergarten to 8th grade.
Nice.
In D.C. So
where
we can do a deep dive. Little town called Bowie, Maryland, which has actually exploded in.
State?
Yeah, it's there, and it's exploded in popularity since I left. I think everybody's just waiting for me to leave, and then it kind of blew up into a bigger town now for sure. And it'd be cool to
over
get
or
back
under
there.
on Tashawn Reed being open to taking us around and showing us around.
Well, he doesn't. He just got there like today. The former Raiders beat writer who just moved to DC to cover the Commanders. Breaking news if you guys didn't know about that. But yeah, he. I don't know that he's going to know the spots.
You may have to take him out.
I got some spots.
Yeah,
got some spots.
So keep it. Maybe you can share some of your hot spots because Raider fans travel. So maybe
I know because, and I'll say this on the flight there to New England. I actually flew to New York, so I didn't see anybody. But the flight home, and then all around, was actually sitting next to some of you guys viewers out there. So appreciate that. That was nice. And
I was on the rental car bus back to the airport, and I hear Vinny. It was a group of Raider fans. Shout out to you guys. They were headed to the Inland Empire from Boston. So it is always cool. We're just come say hi, even if you got a complaint or an argument or whatever the case might be. It's all love. No worries about that. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and Thursday. We will catch back up with you on Friday. That's it for Vegas Nation First and 10. Want to say thanks to Heidi Fang. Want to say thanks to Dom Lavoie, our great producers.
You just learned that, so you have to say it?
No, I've been working. Yeah, I've been kind of working. I want to say thanks to all of our viewers, all of our readers, all of our listeners. Thank you so much for all the support. The numbers are great. We appreciate it. Don't forget to go to lvrj.com/nation. Get the next 3 months of a digital subscription to Vegas Nation for one whole quarter, 25 cents. That's it. Check you guys out on Friday.